Welcome to the Untapped Synergy podcast with your hosts, Michael and Tracy Warren. I'm your podcast producer, RJ Malik. Michael and Tracy, this is your first podcast, so welcome. And we're going to, I guess the job we're going to do right now is get to know a little bit about the both of you, what this podcast is going to be about and the goals of the podcast. So let's start with you, Tracy. Why don't you give us a little background, like where you grew up, where you went to school, things like that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, RJ. Yeah, today's not about business. We just want to tell you who we are, where we grew up, some cool, interesting stories about our career and our journey up until this point, and why we care so much about Colorado entrepreneurs, as well as districts and municipalities. So I am homegrown, born and raised here in Colorado, which is hard to find. Born in Denver, and then family came up north to Fort Collins. I went to Poudre High School, so I'm an Impala for all of you other Impalas out there. And then I had to decide where to go to college, and I wanted to shovel sunshine instead of snow. So I got some scholarships to go down to Arizona State, and got my undergraduate degree there. Came back to Colorado, wanted to grow some roots, got my master's degree here, and got into retail banking. So family would always joke with me that they knew I was going to be a banker because I would, sell my sister's items out of her room and, count the stacks of cash. So we joke and laugh about that now. So fun fact, I love gardening. I write poetry, and a lot of my time recently is growing this wealth management investment firm with my husband. So a little bit about me.
We're going to throw it to you, Mike. Why don't you follow up with your background?
Yeah, that was pretty good, Tracy, for first time. So Mike Warren, born in Kansas City in the 70s, became an Army brat. After a while, that ended up in Mississippi, went to high school at the Meridian High School Wildcats, which nobody's going to know who that is. But in Colorado, they know who the Impalas are at least. But went to Mississippi State, the only school I could afford, and finished a 4-year degree at, and ended up getting a pretty good job in engineering, another job in production management in Wisconsin, but always had my eyes set out here. This was always a goal to get to Colorado in the dry air and the sunshine. And so did move out here 25 years ago. This is home, and had that production management job for a while, but then everything in production, it seemed like, went to China in 2002, and so did my job.
Okay.
And thank goodness, because I started working in wealth management in 2002 and have been doing it ever since. We started our own firm about 2 years ago, Synergy Capital. And
let's hold off on that.
Yeah,
because we'll get to that. How did you two meet then?
We met in the wild. So we actually worked out at the same gym, and one of his friends was my trainer at the time. And so just a kind of an introduction, we were both in a relationship. So just saying hi while, we're on the elliptical and he's lifting. And then he had a boat up at Horsetooth and invited myself and some of my friends up there, taught us how to wake surf. And from there, we just didn't really even keep in contact, I don't think. But life went on. We both got out of our relationships, met back up, and the rest is history.
Okay. Very nice. All
right.
right.
It's a classic lesson in just aiming super high and seeing what you hit, which is what I did, and magic happened.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I aimed very high. My wife is way up there. And in fact, my family tells me that if I screw this up, I'm out of the family. She's in. So
they choose her.
Yeah. So that's, I understand, Mike. Okay. So then, Mike, let's go back to you. You lost your job. So what made you get into finances?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in 2001, had my first daughter. We started a 529 college savings plan at that time, and it was with an advisor that knew my wife growing up, and she heard that I lost my job, and she said, "Hey, we are recruiting, and we think you'd be pretty good at this job. At least give it a shot." And I said, "Well, if I get another job, I'll take that's in my own industry and as an engineer or production manager. But if I get nothing else, I'll give this a shot." And at the time, that was a deep recession of 2002 when this happened, and Colorado was not spared by that recession. So there were no production management jobs, no engineering jobs, just one job offer, and that's the one I got. And I'm so glad, so thankful that that was the only one that offered me a job because it really worked out.
Okay. Now, Tracy, it seems more natural. You got into banking, that this was more of a natural path for you. Now, when did you actually though get into financial advising?
It was when we started this company. So it was, I graduated from college in 2008, which was great. And so just trying to find a job, found that in retail banking, worked my way up in leadership and loved it, but knew that I wanted something a little bit different. I love the idea of being an entrepreneur because the success is in your hands. It is up to you. And so both my parents were entrepreneurs. So yeah, I just decided to take that leap. We were actually doing our wedding plans and building a house, and it was a lot. So Mike and I talked about it and did some research what that might look like working together, which we can talk about later. But knew I wanted to stay in finance, but just transition into a different industry of
So,
finance.
Mike, your transition, did you find it smooth, or was there some rough patches? How did that work out for you?
I would say the opposite of smooth because
Okay.
if you've ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire when he
Yes.
leaves with who was it?
He was an
Renee
agent.
Zellweger. Yes.
Yes,
So when
yes.
he left, they went hard after his clients. And of course, he only brought one with him, the Cuba Gooding
Right,
Jr. character.
right.
And so in our case, we brought roughly 90%, but they were going hard and heavy after our clients when I left. And it's the nature of the business, unfortunately, when you leave a W 2 employee firm like the week that I was employed at. But we brought our clients over here, and it took a lot of trust from our clients because really they do business with us. They trust us. The relationship is with us, not a company. And so there were a couple that got away, but it is what it is. You know, you have to accept that.
Well, and is it true also you're constantly looking for new clients anyway? So I mean, isn't that sort of the nature of the business, that you'll keep some people for a long time, but occasionally someone is going to leave, but you also try to gather more, new clients. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, yeah, and one of my favorite TV shows is Mad Men, and one of my favorite quotes from that is Roger Sterling looks to Don after they lost a client, and he said, "Don, the day you earn a new client is the day you start losing them."
That
And
yes,
it's very
yes,
true. Either they pass
yes,
away, or possibly we could ask them to work somewhere else as well. That's happened in the past when you have a
sure.
client that doesn't quite fit anymore, and so you want the best for them and the best for us because we can be pretty choosy about who we work with.
Well, that's nice. That's nice to be in that position to be able to choose who you work for. And I understand that because in my background with radio, most of it spent on the air. I did take a little bit of a break, and I sold advertising. So we had the 80/20 rule. 20% of 80% of your income came from those 20%, and you were going to be churning other clients. So it was just a natural thing that you had to take care of your good clients, but you also knew that you could lose them. So it sounds like it's pretty similar that way.
Yeah, and we believe firmly in the Pareto principle and really all aspects of life because we believe that 80% of the joy you get from hanging out with your friends comes from 20% of your friends and vice versa. So same thing with clients, 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of those clients, and 80% of the value we provide for our business comes from 20% of the work we do. So it's all about trying to find somebody else to bring in to do the other 80% that we're not so good at or don't like doing. And maybe that's in their 20%. And that's a
Okay.
big deal.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, Tracy, let's go back to you and let's talk about working together.
Yes.
How do you find that? I mean, do you complement each other, or you have a set of skills that complement Mike, and Mike has a set of skills that complement you? Is that how this all came about? Can you, I guess, start from the beginning? How did you two start the company together?
It was right after I'd left retail banking, and Mike kind of came to me with this idea. So it was very vague. How would you feel? Do you like this industry? Do you want to stay in the industry? These are my visions. Mike is a visionary, so he has big dreams and goals, and he's always going, always going. And so his goal and dream is always to have his own RIA. And he saw multiple different ways that I could help build and grow the company. And so I don't know, I think maybe I was the one that was a little bit more cautious about it. And so I listened to podcasts. I talked to friends that had businesses together, what works, what doesn't. And one of the main things we found was if you're going to work together, make sure you do completely separate things and you have your own space. So we each have an office in our house. We
Okay.
have, separate spaces in the office here, and we do completely different roles. So I think that's what's been successful.
Well, that sounds like a great formula for success because you're not stepping on each other's toes, right?
That's right. And we built our home during COVID. And it's obviously a COVID built home because there are two really nice home offices set up on opposite ends of the house. So we can get as much work done at home as we can in the office.
Okay. I like that. The opposite end. That's smart management. That is definitely smart management. And so when you're working together, do you set aside time to stop talking work and talk couple things? How does that work?
It's hard. I
Okay.
think that but what makes it different is we're so passionate about what we do. If we were both working at, some huge corporation, it would be a little different. But this is our baby. This is what we're bringing to the world and possibly our kids if they step into it. This is a legacy that we're building. And so it's not as tiresome talking about work a lot of the time. There are a few times where I don't know if Mike does it more or I do it more, and we just put a pause and it's like, okay, we've had a long day. Let's talk about this weekend plans or this upcoming trip. So I don't know. I'd say we're still getting to that boundary of when we not discuss work at home.
I would say the positive to this too, though, is that everybody that works outside the home, they come back home that evening and they talk to their spouse about how their day went. And they
Right.
explain this happened and that happened. And the spouse is like, what is that acronym again? I'm not following you. And so with us, when we tell each other how our day went, we 100% understand it. And I know all of her struggles that she has in compliance, and she has as our CFO, and she has as just doing the books and dealing with clients, because I've done all that myself as well. But she does it better than I would do it, and so I'm happily going to listen to her talk about it and vent, and then the next day she starts over and does it well again.
Okay. So I think that's really important, separating duties and knowing what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, or you're not, I shouldn't say weakness, maybe that's not a good word, but what you're really good at, and maybe what is a thing that you didn't enjoy doing, but you got it done anyway. So that sounds, again, it sounds like you guys are just meshing perfectly, and that's very helpful. And it's also helpful that you're in the same industry because I have a similar situation. My wife is also in radio. That's how we met. We met at a radio station. So she still works in the business. I'm on my own now, but I was in management and radio and on the air. So we talk about the same things. We talk about the industry. When she talks about her job, I know what she's talking about. I know what she's going through. And sometimes she uses me as a sounding board. And, a lot of times she'll use me as a sounding board and then do the opposite what I told her. And, I think that's just a natural thing. But um, I think it helps knowing what the other person's going through as far as the position is. All right, so
I think
let's
if
now.
if I
Go
can
ahead.
say one more thing too, I know what Tracy's talents are, and she is an amazing person inside and out, and and a beautiful person inside and out. She brings talents that to this business that any corporation would want to have, and I'd be a little jealous if she got away, from the business side. because I value her so much with all of her skill sets that are complementing mine. We're yin and yang in many ways.
Well, that's excellent. That's just awesome to hear. I'm going to get away from business for a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about the both of you. Obviously, it sounds like your business, and rightfully so, takes up a lot of your time. But when you need to get away, what do you like to do, Tracy? What is a hobby? I know you did mention hobbies before, but a little more in depth about what you like to do besides working.
Yeah, no, we love to travel. I think adventure is something that attracted us to each other. I hadn't traveled a ton before, Mike, just because I was very, very focused on my career. But we love travel. We love the food, the culture, music. The different wine. I got my level 2 sommelier certification during COVID because I think everyone was drinking a little bit more. And so I was like, well, I'm going to be a mixologist and I'm going to be a sommelier. And so that was really fun and something that, we love to do together. We love to go to Napa. We got married in Napa and
Nice.
I proposed when we were in Italy. So travel is a huge, huge, important item for us to do in our free time. I love to read. I am in a book club and we've had to go on a wait list, which I feel bad about, but it's just connecting with other women, reading a variety of books. I love music. I used to sing, so I like to do
Ah.
that. And yeah, the list goes on. Life is beautiful and has so many wonderful opportunities that we fill our free time very quickly.
Mike, you want to add anything to that? Because she has a long list there.
Yeah, and she didn't used to sing. She still sings around the house, so I get to hear
That's
a beautiful
nice.
voice echoing through the halls, and so it's that's a wonderful thing. As far as, I mean, one of the things we do together a lot too is we love Formula One racing,
Oh,
and so
okay.
we've been to a couple of races in Austin and love it there. And so we'd love to go back to that same track, but also maybe since things have kind of opened up a little bit more, going to Europe, we'll go back there and maybe see a race. But that's a big deal for us. Sunday mornings are usually spent watching it on tape delay a little bit
Okay.
because they're early races. What else? We're both fit and love to be in the gym, and so again, that's where we met. And I think that's a great place to meet somebody because you already know that one of your core values is that box is getting checked by the other person too. And
Hmm.
so that's, she says we met in the wild. We definitely did do that. So she works out a lot more than I do and is more fit than I am right now. But I'm gonna catch up. I had a rough summer, especially with what's going on with the face right now with shingles. But
Yeah.
I'm almost done with that. So but
Eh,
working, this is our baby. Like she said, we work a lot, probably 60, 70 hours a week,
Sure.
and it's something that we don't want to do forever as far as that workload. So we're looking to build our team right now with the right people, and whoever comes in is going to have a huge opportunity to grow with us. But right now, it takes a lot of time to keep the business growing the way it should be growing. One of my passions is podcast. I love listening to podcasts, and I've got a whole lineup of industry podcasts. I've got wellness podcasts that I'll listen to as well. And most of the time, I listen to those either while I'm mowing the grass, or in the
Hmm.
wintertime shoveling snow,
Sure.
or in the gym. So
Okay.
those are my. I'm a lifetime learner. I can't get enough, and that comes with a lot of reading.
I think that's very important to always want to learn. Like I said, I'm actually learning a new program to edit and create music. I'm next step is to start to go back to learning a musical instrument. I took guitar lessons for 8 years just to be an awful guitar player. So now I'm looking at maybe I fool around with a keyboard, but I've read that if you push yourself and continue to learn new things, it's better for your brain, and it helps when you get older and later in life. And it's become important for me because both my mother-in-law and my mom, they're in their late 80s, and you can see the decline, and that's something that is tough to work with. But it's a wake up call for yourself. It's like, I'm not sure if I want to be in that position. So
It's interesting you mentioned that too, because my father was one of the smartest men I knew. He contracted Parkinson's many years ago. I think it was around 05, 06, and just battled that forever. Then he got the Lewy body dementia that goes with that sometimes. And so to watch a guy get cut down like that and finally pass away at 73, I just turned 53 this week. And I don't look at my lifespan as being 20 years, but that sure is a round number. And so I have a lot to do between now and then. And that's partly why I'm so passionate about this business and doing what we do here.
You turned 54.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
It's already happening. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
sorry.
so strike that.
I like it.
Or I can say it again. I don't know. It's been a round number until this week.
That's awesome. It's great to have a wife that's there to make sure you're giving out the correct information. Mike, I can relate to you. It happens to me quite often.
Should we re-record that or just use it as is?
Use it as is. Come on, because I think every husband out there will be like, okay, I've been there, done that. So
you should see her when the traffic starts breaking ahead too. She doesn't think I see it.
What?
Brakes.
Very good. Let's talk about what you are hoping to achieve or what your goals are for your podcast. Tracy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's just obviously being from here, I would love to integrate more into the community with what Synergy Capital can provide. We have a really unique niche coming in and helping municipalities and districts as well as business owners. But I think it's overall just going to be a conversation with leaders in our community, whether they're a leader at a municipality or they've started a business and really done a successful job growing that. So it's I wouldn't say it's really heavy business focus, but it's just the questions you want to ask someone when you see them on the, About Us page of their website, both personal and how they got to where they are. What tips do they have?
Okay. Mike, you want to add anything to that?
Yes. So everybody's got a story, and especially say fire chiefs or water district managers. I mean, in many cases, they've changed careers. And so they weren't always that fire chief with all the, the uniform and the responsibility. They were something before that. And we've just found that there's some very interesting people to interview. They've all gone through a struggle or a series of struggles. They fought through it, and they've developed grit through all that. And I think a lot of people that might be going through that either career change or the struggles of climbing the ladder, pardon the pun there, but they could use that. They could use that knowledge. They could that pay it forward mentality. And I think everybody wants to tell their story for that purpose. Nobody wants to hold it all in for themselves. So we're going to give these leaders a medium for telling that story, helping others.
That was way better than mine. Good job.
Well, and both of you have changed careers. So you can speak from personal experience in changing careers. That's something that I think is very important, because as you're talking to a person, it's easy for you to show empathy or to understand what they're going through because you've gone through that. Mike, how was it when you went from your initial career to your finance career? How did that go?
It was scary, because I remember when I started, my salary was $2,000 a month plus whatever commissions. Back then we were commission based. We aren't now, but $2,000 pretty much was used up by the insurance for my family, and then the rest was up to me to just go generate business. And so that was scary to start, but I did well. They gave us a recipe to say, hey, do it this way. You're going to be successful if you survive long enough. And that was the running joke. And I survived long enough and was successful. And I could not have picked a better career. I love what I do. There was never a plan B when I got into this, and I made it work, and I had great mentorship. We call it a hand up. had lots of hands up to help me, and I've given a lot of those in return to others behind me.
Okay. Tracy, your transition wasn't as drastic as Mike's, but it still was a transition. And you did indicate before that this was something that you had a little bit of, I'm trying to think of the word, you were uh, not 100% on board at the time. You had
Yeah,
some thought
it
doubts.
was, I think it was more just finding my why. It was, do I want to be in the finance industry? I also worked at Nordstrom for a long time and was in designer sunglasses. And so even as a kid, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And then took my first, sewing class and, stuck my finger a couple times and realized how long it took to make a really quality garment and just kind of went a different route. So it was more, do I want to continue in this industry? And what does that look like? And there were about half of the, I guess, skills and knowledge from retail banking that I was able to bring over. And I'm glad that it was only half because I need that challenge and I have to always be learning. I think the minute you're stagnant in what you do, whether it's your role, career, personal or professional, that's when you get lazy and complacent and happiness decreases.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that in radio where you saw some of these older broadcasters. They had the attitude, "Been there, done that. You can't teach me anything," and I agree with you. That's just a bad attitude. I like talking to younger people to just get their thoughts because you could learn something from their perspective. So I think that's a fantastic attitude. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you would like to share with us?
I think one thing too is that I've been told, and I think I've experienced this too, is that ladies love adventure. And
Okay,
if you're a guy and you're not on some sort of adventure with her, there's something missing there, I think, for a lady. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of what I've experienced. And I think that's part of what this is for Tracy and myself. It's our adventure together,
nice.
and with all the ups and downs. And it's not straight up. We get plenty of hurdles and barriers that we have to either go over, through, or around. And I think as a man, we need to be on a mission of some sort. We need to be either climbing a mountain, building something, fighting a battle, and that's what we're doing. So we're kind of both getting what at our core we need from this business.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's great. We've been talking long enough, and I think we have covered a lot. And why don't you, do you have an idea of what you're going to be talking about with the next podcast, or is that something you're still working on?
So the next podcast will be a lot more about Synergy Capital,
Okay.
the ins and the outs, some of the successes we've had, maybe some of the regrets of doing a startup. And I say startup lightly because we still came into this with a book of business.
Right.
But as Mike said, we want to be a sounding board for people who might want to go this route and get out of the big W-2 world and do their own RIA. Or I don't know, we just hope that telling a little bit more about our journey with Synergy Capital will help others that tune in.
Absolutely. It's always good to hear from people who have gone out on their own. I'm so fascinated, and this even goes back to when I was on the air. So fascinated to talk to people, not just music stars, but people who from the community that I was working in, and they had their own business. I always thought it was just an absolutely a fascinating conversation to have, and to just listen to their journey and what they went through, because people will see a successful couple like yourself and be like, well, it must be easy. Look how easy it was for them. They're way up here, and they just don't know how it was from the beginning. So I think this is cool, and I'm looking forward to listening and hearing about your journey. So that's what we'll start with our next podcast. I appreciate it. If people want to get in touch with you, what's a good way to contact you?
Yeah, if this helped you get to know us, stick around. Obviously, the next episode will be even more, and then we'll be bringing guests on. But you can always visit our website at www.synergy-colorado.com or shoot us an email, Mike at synergy-colorado.com or Tracy at synergy-colorado.com.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to wrap things up. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you today, and I look forward to working with you on your podcast. And again, thank you for listening to the Untapped Synergy podcast. We ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review because this actually helps others find the show. Again, thank you for listening, and for Tracy and Mike, I'm RJ Malik, and we'll see you at the next Untapped Synergy podcast. Thanks for listening to Untapped Synergy. For more episodes, insights, and tools to help you lead with confidence, be sure to follow the show and visit us at synergy-colorado.com. For personalized guidance or to start a conversation, give us a call at 970-837-3088. Keep leading boldly. We're here to support your next step. The information presented in this podcast is the opinion of Synergy Capital and does not reflect the view of any other person or entity. The information provided is believed to be from reliable sources, but no liability is accepted for any inaccuracies. This is for information purposes and should not be construed as an investment recommendation. Past performance is no guarantee of future performance. You should consult your tax and/or legal advisors before implementing any transactions and/or strategies concerning your finances. Synergy Capital is an investment advisor registered with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission.